Hello, this is Blake Knierim, the woodworker, and today we're going to be making a checkered board, just a small version of it, and the bus goes by. Happened in the last try. Hello, this is Blake Knierim, the woodworker, and today we're going to be making a checkered board, just a small basic one, not a full-size one, but I'm going to be using pallet wood, and there goes my car, pallet wood, and this is about a 1/4 inch thick, and this will be some of the squares I'll cut out. And this other recycled board that I got for free, I got about 6 of these that are about that much wider, but this has some cut off. Anyways, I'll be cutting strips that are a 1/4 inch thick on this, so they're both the same thickness, and they're both 2 different colors of wood, so you can tell which squares are supposed to be which. So now we'll go over to the table saw and cut the strips off so we can use them on our checkerboard. So, if you want to figure out the thickness of your board, easy, just take your fence, put the board in there, and slightly press against it. That's about the thickness. So now, let me move the camera back up towards the fence. I think it's kind of a cool angle. I haven't seen a woodworking video that has an angle with this on this with the saw blade. Anyways, now we have our board with the right thickness. Now we'll set the height. That's pretty good. Just right above the board. I can only go back this far hitting stuff. So I'll just go back to there and then shut it off. So here we go. I'll flip it around and finish. Actually, I'm just going to break it off. Well, no, I'm going to finish cutting it this way now. So here's one strip. Normally checkers boards are 8x8, so I'm going to make it 8x8, so I need 64 squares, so 32, bless me, 32 squares of each kind, so I think this will work, because they're going to be pretty small, so I think one strip will work just fine for me. But now I'm going to take I guess I'm going to use this as my squares. I'm going to do that, yeah. So now I'll take the fence, move the camera back, take the fence, put this strip in here, the size that I want it, and just lightly press up against it. My fence is kind of weird. So there's that. Now I can cut strips out of this thin plywood. We can definitely raise the blade down. So now I can definitely cut strips out of there. And I'll just cut this all as many strips as I can get out of it. So here we go. So I have 3 strips out of this, and if that isn't enough, I can get another piece of pallet wood, cut those out. So now we're going to go over to the chop saw and cut all the squares out. Okay, so now I'll measure the width of my strips, which are almost 1.5 inches. So now I will measure an inch and a half, almost an inch and a half. There's 2 lines before it. So I'm going to cut this one off because it's bad. Wait, let's see. A little bit below. Inch and a half. Okay, so now we'll line this up with the blade. You want to make sure you cut on the right side of the blade, or it's going to make your piece shorter. Okay, so right there. Now, take my line. Well, it's not holding it. I thought I had pressure on it. Make sure you're on the right side of the blade again, or the line. I'm going to press down on it. Take my pencil, make a line on there, so you don't have to measure these all the time. I have old marks right here from different stuff that I use. So now I'll go ahead and cut a bunch of these. Put them on. So you just line up in your line. This one's a little shorter, so I'm not going to use it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need 22 more. So I'll go ahead and cut those. No need to film that. So I'll just go ahead and cut those out of these 2 strips. And I'll get back with you when I start cutting these. Okay, so I have 32 of those squares cut. Now I'll cut 32 out of this. I don't know if I can get all these out of here. I don't think I can. But I would like to. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these. Okay, so I had to cut another strip off of the darker wood. So I have 32 of each. Now I'm just going to take them on the belt sander and sand off the burrs that are on these. So, the strips, or 4 of those squares, come to 5 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut out of this piece of plywood, which I was going to use pallet wood, but they're not wide enough. Because I need 4 squares to fit on 1 width. Okay, so I'm going to use this piece of plywood and cut 2 5 3/4 inch pieces. I don't know the length, I just know the width. I'll measure the length later. So now I have my 2 5 3/4 inch pieces. Okay, so now I'm going to take 8 of my squares, line them up, and see how long of this board that I need. Oops. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay. Had one too many. So now I'm just going to take a pencil and mark it there. And I came up, this is 11 and 1 mark past the half mark. 11.5.1. So now I'm going to cut these on the miter saw at this line. So I'll go ahead over there. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut these and line up my mark right here. And just cut them both at once. I don't know if I'll cut all the way through these. Barely. And I need to cut up a little bit more. Right there. Those are the final ones. So now, instead of sanding all these blocks, I didn't end up sanding them. I'm just going to sand them at the end. Might have been better to sand them, but I'm just going to do it all at once at the end. And I'm going to put it through the thickness planer, I think, to plane them down smooth and all even. And I didn't sand these either. I'll sand those later. I have this thing that I can take. Good for the burrs, but not really on plywood. Anyways, so now we can take these two and fill all these up with the squares. So of course you know how a checkerboard goes. Every other way, which I'm just going to start putting these down as I go. Okay, just put the dot on the back. That's all I'm going to do. They're not going to have anything pulling up on them, so they don't need to be that glued down. And just set these in place. And if you have little cracks, if you sand it, then it will. Some of them you can put like glue in, and it'll be filled in with the sawdust. And you want to look at them and see which edges and sides are the best. And maybe put the grain all one way, just however you like it, or whatever you want it to look like. You could also, instead of doing checkers board, do checkers board, but instead of cutting little squares and putting them on, you can just take a piece of plywood like this, 2 halves, mark where you want the squares, and then just stain every other one. Instead of cutting a bunch of squares and everything and gluing them all on, you can just make that grid and do that. And just tape them off and stain them. And you don't have to do as much sanding either, because they will all be the same. And they will be all even. Okay, just make sure you get these right in the right spot, because I almost messed up there. Sometimes they can get confusing, so you can just put weight on them. After you're done, you don't have to clamp every single one. There'd be a lot of clamps and probably pretty frustrating. And in mine, I don't care which way the grain goes. I think it looks pretty cool however they go. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue up all these. I guess I'll leave the... Well, actually I'm going to stop the video and I'll get back with you later on after I'm done gluing all these on, and I'll put weight on them and then get back with you. And then we'll wait for them to dry and I'll be back with you again. But just keep gluing these on. I'm not going to have the video going because it'll be really long and it'll take very long to upload. So I'm just going to glue these on and I'll be back with you later. And one tip that I have about uploading videos with your iPod, if you have an iPod and you can download the app YouTube Capture, and that will let you take videos, edit them and everything, and upload them straight from YouTube capture on your iPod. And you know how your iPod shuts off and stuff after a while? Well, you can go to your settings and make it to so like it's called auto lock. Take that and turn it to never. Click never, so it never shuts off by itself. So when you go to bed or whatever, just plug in your iPod, put it face down so it's not bright, and you can turn the brightness down. And you can just let it stay on all night, and it will download all your videos or upload them all to YouTube. That's what I did last night, and I uploaded the nail video and the survival kit video I uploaded, because those were already made a while ago. I just couldn't get them to upload because I was tired of sitting there and trying to make sure my iPod didn't turn off, but then I thought of going and making it so it never shuts off. And that works perfect for me to just do that, not have to worry about turning them on and off. So there you go. So I got all of those set up, and I flipped them over this board over. I'm just going to set a weight on them, which is this log that I'm going to use. So I'm going to put it this way. Just put weights, and they don't have to be evenly. So now that you probably can't see anything because of the weight, or because of this log. Now I'm just going to finish putting on the other ones on this one. All the other squares in that one. So now, as you can see, I have both of them done with the logs sitting on them. This one's definitely not as heavy, but it's okay. So I'm just going to let those dry, and this is part 1. I'll have a part 2, maybe part 3. I think I'll finish it up on part 2. But this is part 1 of the checkered board to make, and I'll get back with you. Have a nice day. And I'll get back.